Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be taking you through a rated round with me and my buddy. This rated round was a league day at a local course here in San Jose, California. Decided I'd play it with my buddy, and just before we started, I talked to my buddy and asked him if we should film each other's shots to see how we play, and then one, we could analyze it later, but two, it could be good content for you to see how I play as a player, as a disc golf store owner, and give you some insight to how I play. And basically we played at Hellier Park, which is just on the outskirts of San Jose. It's a 9-hole course, but you do 2 loops, and this past weekend it was 1 loop in the shorts, or from the short tee pads, and 1 loop from the long tee pads. And I played with a few people I know, one of them being my buddy, and basically we took turns switching off who filmed each other's shots, and I figured I'd take you through my round and you can see how I play. Just one thing before I start the round, I figured I'd tell you a little bit about myself and my buddy. My name's Christian Oy, if you don't know. I have been playing disc golf for about 1.5 years, and I'm currently 943 rated. I have the goal of wanting to play a Pro Tour event next year, so I'm kind of prepping for that. And my buddy Jordan, he recently started playing. He started playing a little bit after me, maybe 6 months after me. He started getting pretty serious. He's currently 803 rated and has been making really big improvements. And I believe his goal is to be 830 by the end of the year. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. All right, guys, here we are. First hole of our rated round. We got a short 228-foot par 3. Basically just hit the gap and you'll have a look for birdie. Jordan went with this Neutron Proxy, ended up early releasing but gets a great kick to the fairway. I'm trying to do the same thing, pierce the gap with my Proxy and end up puring it and get a park job for birdie on the first hole. Jordan with his great kick to the fairway has like a 45-footer for birdie, and he ends up cashing it. So we both go 1 down through 1. Great start. We got to just keep our momentum up, hopefully, for the second hole, which is pretty simple. Straight shot up the hill, 185-foot par 3. Basically, you want to do the same thing with the putter, just maybe land a little bit short so you don't go long into the crater behind the basket. Jordan ends up kind of early releasing a little bit, but no harm, no foul. Could have an easy pitch up for par. So I'm trying to turn this Proxy over just a little bit and flex it in and hopefully softly land by the basket, which I do pretty well. Pretty happy about that shot. Park job, going 2 down through 2. Jordan just pitching up for his par. Don't want to get a nasty roll away and end up with bogey on hole 2. So I'm 2 down through 2. Jordan's 1 down through 2. We're going into hole 3, which is kind of like a simple hyzer. You want to go right of this tree and skip into those clusters of trees in the background. I'm going with my Toro, and I end up kind of not putting enough juice on it. I had hit the edge of the tree, but kind of have a backdoor look at it. Jordan's going with his Rock 3, and he does the opposite of me. He puts a little bit too much juice, maybe holds on to it a little long, but gets a great kick and ends up with like a 25-foot look. And I kind of have this tricky lie where I have to go through these 2 V trees, and I figured I might as well run it for birdie, and I ended up cashing it. So pretty stoked to go 3 down through 3. Jordan has his look, and no problem cashes that 27-footer for birdie. And going on to hole 4, we kind of have like an uphill 210-foot par 3. It's not the basket right there, but it's behind this cluster of trees on the right. I'm trying to throw a flex with the Proxy, just drifted over to the right. And I ended up not drifting it enough, but should have a look for birdie. Jordan's trying to throw a destroyer, all hyzer there, and ends up accidentally throwing it with a little bit of flex. So he kind of has like a little bit of a pitch up with his Zone OS, trying to throw it high, stall it up there, make sure you land by the basket and take an easy par. He does that perfectly. And now coming up to my lie, we kind of got this 28-foot putt. Normally I miss these pretty low, so I was telling myself to just put it above the cage, hopefully drop it in there. And I end up hitting the band, but luckily I don't get a roll away. So Jordan and I basically are just tapping in our pars here. He's 1 down through 3, and I'm 3 down or he's 1 down through 4 actually, and I'm 3 down through 4. Not a bad start. We're both pretty happy with that, I would say. Going into hole 5, we got this 250-foot downhill hyzer. Basically, you want to go over these trees and crash over to the left. I'm going with my Nate Sexton Firebird, just trying to push it straight and let it stall out to the left. I think I threw a pretty good shot there. I was pretty stoked when I threw it. Jordan's trying to do the same line with his PD, I believe, or actually his Grace, and ends up maybe just putting a little bit too much hyzer on it. Gets a straight kick down pretty early, but has a manageable upshot. He's trying to go zone here. You can see the basket in the background, trying to just skip it up. But he ends up juicing it a little bit and almost makes it in for birdie, which is crazy. But he goes a little long and has this 35-footer for comebacker for par. And he ends up missing it just by a little bit to the left. And luckily, my Firebird was parked. Good to get a birdie after that par. So I'm 4 down through 5. And Jordan taps in his bogey. And he is 1 down through 5. So on to hole 6, we kind of got this really simple 150-foot shot. But it's really more difficult than it looks. It's kind of between these two bushes. I'm trying to throw a Toro to the right, skip it up to the basket. And I end up throwing it a little too fast because it skips, but then Annie skips up the hill. But I have kind of like a 40-footer, 33-footer for birdie. Jordan's trying to do the same thing, but throw it a little bit higher, I believe, with his Zone OS. He ends up doing it pretty perfectly. Gets caught up in the bush short, but should have a look. Stepping up to my putt. Actually a little bit further than I thought, but tried to cash this putt for birdie. Stepper, made it. Pretty stoked to continue the birdie streak. I'm 5 down through 6. Jordan trying to make this birdie putt bounce back boat from the bogey, and he does so well. So he's 2 down through 6. I'm 5 down through 6. This next hole, 165 feet, plays more like 230 feet. You really just want to throw really high above these trees and stall it because the basket is right behind it. So I do so with the Toro, trying to stall it in the air, crash down next to the basket. And I believe Jordan's trying to do the same thing with his PD. Pretty high, stall it, or maybe just pierce through the middle. I wasn't really sure what he was trying to do, I guess. But he just releases just a little bit early, maybe too much hyzer, honestly, but gets a great kick to the fairway. And as you can see, you really want to push high above these trees because if you go just barely over them, you can go really long. But if you go a little bit short, you kind of have this tricky upshot, as you can see from Jordan's perspective. So he's trying to figure out if he should go over. So he ends up going over. We'll have an easy look for par. I kind of have this 20-footer for birdie, and I cash it. So I'm 6 down through 7. I'm feeling pretty good. Jordan tapping into the par, and he's 2 down through 7. Going into the 8th hole, we kind of have this stall hyzer. You really want to throw out way wide with something and have it just crash behind these trees. It's very similar to the last hole, but basically downhill. I end up not pushing the right side too much and end up, I believe, way left of the basket. Jordan, I believe, is trying to do the same thing as me with his PD, kind of just throw it up high, stall it pretty straight, and have it crash down. And he actually does a beautiful shot where it looks perfect with the with the PD, and it looks like it's pretty close to the basket, but he ends up just barely long. Great line, just like 30 feet long, 40 feet long. He has a good putt for birdie. He ends up missing it just to the right. And I kind of have this stepper. I was kind of scared, to be honest, to do this putt because I felt like if I went past, I might miss the putt. I don't know why. Something wrong with just something mental, I guess, but end up shorting it, have an easy look for par. Same with Jordan, taps it in. Same scores. Going into hole 9, we kind of have this 250-foot straight shot with a putter, and the basket's actually up to the right. So it's really hard to pure it if you're a righty or don't have a good forehand. And so I'm just trying to throw a putter up the gut, land short, and skip up near there. With the proxy, I kind of clip a branch, slows me down, and I think I have a look to the basket. Jordan is trying to do the exact same thing. Just kind of throw a buzz straight up there, skip up, and get a look for birdie. to finish out the back nine. And he ends up throwing it pretty good, actually, maybe just a little bit to the left, but is pin high, has a good look for birdie, and let's see if he can make it. So he ends up hitting the band. Not a bad bid. Pretty good bid, honestly. And as you can see from my angle, I actually go a little long, kind of have an obstructed look. Basically just pitching up for par, hoping it goes in. But we both get pars to finish out our front nine. Can't complain. 6 down through 9. All right, going into the back nine, we basically are playing all the same pin placements, but just from longer tee pads. So this one's a 356-foot stall hyzer back to hole 1, essentially. And I'm trying to throw my straight destroyer through this gap and fade it around those trees on the left-hand side. And I thought I did it really well, but it didn't look like it faded far enough. And I believe Jordan's trying to do the same thing with his Thrasher. He ends up doing a perfect hyzer flip, drifts, but it ends up actually not drifting enough. And he kind of puts himself in a little bit of a tricky lie, as you can see. He's behind these wall of trees, and he's trying to just pitch up for par. And he does a great job going through this wall of trees. It looks way easier on camera, but it looked impossible from in person. And now you can see I'm getting to my lie. You can see I'm pin high, but in a really crappy position. I didn't know where to go. I was stretching out, trying to find a gap, and from my angle, it just didn't look like there was anything. I was in a bunch of poison oaks, so I was like, man, I kind of just want to get out of here if I'm being honest. So I was looking around, and I saw a line up top, and I'm like, I'm just going to throw above that bush and see what happens. And I ended up hitting the bush, so I'm like, okay, I just ruined my good drive, can't get a par, but just got to go up shot for bogey, end up bogeying. And Jordan, with his great upshot, has like a 20-footer obstructed straddle for par. And he cashes that no problem. Easy work for him. I tap in my bogey. And we're moving on to hole 11, which is a 350-foot turnover. Jordan ends up early releasing, but gets a kick to the fairway, so that's good. Sorry for the bad angle there. I'm trying to do the same thing. The basket's way to the right behind these trees. I'm trying to throw my TL3, just drifted over to the right-hand side. And I end up hitting that little branch Twizzler on the right-hand side, slows me down. And so we're both kind of in the fairway scrambling for par here. Jordan's going with his trance, trying to blast it 270 feet to the pin. And he ends up throwing actually a really good shot, I thought. And then it just rolled back down to the edge. So he'll have like a 45-footer, 50-footer for par. I'm here with my Toro, and I got maybe a 170-footer upshot for par. And I end up executing a pretty good shot. I was pretty happy with that. I have like a 20-footer uphill for the par. Jordan, I think, wants to run this shot, so he's trying to do a jump putt up there for the par. Doesn't want to take a bogey, and he ends up just shoring a little bit. It's super elevated, so really hard putt. I got this uphill 20-footer, and I was telling myself, do not leave it low, just put it high. And I end up leaving it low, and luckily I don't get a roll away. But basically, Jordan and I taking tap-in bogeys here. Going back-to-back bogeys on the start of the back nine is tough, but here we are, hole 12. We got a 310-foot par 3, same shot basically as the first round, our first front nine, but basically just a little bit further, maybe 70 feet further. Jordan throws his PD pretty well, a little inside, but it should have a backdoor look. And I'm trying to overcorrect with my Pyro and push it way straighter, and I end up doing that. I thought I pushed it too straight, but the Pyro ends up fading just in time, should be near the basket. Pretty stoked with that. And Jordan luckily went past the trees that I had to putt with on the first round, and he just cashes that birdie putt. He'll take that all day. So we both go bogey, bogey, birdie, birdie. Pretty good feeling. And so now we're moving on to the next hole. Same shot as before, turnover. Jordan's trying to throw flex line, but ends up just putting a little bit too much flex on it. There was a ton of headwind, and so it just turned his disc over. And I didn't really trust the headwind either. It felt like it wasn't really there. So I was trying to take my champion turn and just turned it over through the gap. But I ended up throwing a roller because I just didn't trust my disc to do what I thought it would. And we're both scrambling for par, essentially. Jordan, similar to the front nine, is kind of throwing this Stallheiser with his forehand with way more stuff in the way. I thought he ended up throwing it perfect, but he ends up getting kind of a nasty roll back down. I have this tricky upshot for par, and I end up shorting it pretty poorly. So we both have putts for par to try to keep our scores from getting any more bogeys. Jordan gives it a pretty good bid. At least he missed it high, but he'll be taking a bogey. I have this low ceiling spin putt trying to make this for par, and I end up clipping some cabbage and take my bogey as well. So on the last 3 holes, Jordan and I have gone bogey, bogey, birdie, birdie, bogey, bogey. Not the best string of holes, but I guess we got to move on to the next hole. Jordan here, this is a downhill shot where you typically go over the trees, but Jordan just throws this Isaac Robinson perfect shot straight up this tiny little gap that's like impossible to hit. Probably one of the best throws I've ever seen in real life. And I'm trying to follow that up with a similar shot just over the trees. I was feeling pretty motivated since Jordan, I thought, was parked. I'm just going to throw my Stable Destroyer and have it stall out to the to the left-hand side. Try to get myself a look for birdie. And when I threw this, I thought it was perfect. I thought I hit my line perfect. I thought it was the right distance. But I end up going just a little bit long into the brush. Kind of have a similar putt to the last hole where instead of being on a knee, I have a low ceiling spin putt. I'm trying to go nose up, really give it a good bid. I end up leaving it short, so I don't get the birdie. But Jordan with his tap-in birdie, no problem. I'll take the par. And now we're moving on to the next hole. And so this is basically just a little bit of a turnover hole behind those bushes. Jordan's going with his buzz, and he late releases into the trees on the right-hand side. Sorry for that bad angle, but I'm trying to do the same thing with my detour. The basket's kind of in that cluster of bushes right ahead, and I'm just trying to throw detour to the left, have it drift over to the right, and hopefully have a look for birdie. And I end up early releasing it and end up by that dead tree over there. And basically we're just both scrambling for our pars here. Jordan kind of has a tricky upshot, and he bounces straight off the bush, but should have a good look for par. And I kind of have a look, but it's blind, so I'm trying to just upshot for par without rolling away. And I do so pretty well. Jordan has this uphill 17-footer for par, no problem for him. Straight in the heart of the chains. We both take our pars going into the next hole. And I actually missed Jordan's shot, but he ended up puring it low in between those trees. And I'm trying to go high, similar to my Toro shot on the front nine, and just stall it up there with my detour, drifted to the right. And I thought I did so pretty good, but it looked like it pushed a little too right. But Jordan said it came down at the right spot. And I have kind of this not really obstructed, but tricky little straddle putt for birdie. And I end up cashing it. Really needed that birdie on that back nine. Jordan obviously was parked. Sorry I missed that shot, but he takes the birdie as well. And now we're back onto this hole, different tee pad, but basically a Stallheiser. Jordan kind of pushes it a little bit too long and actually ends up going OB. And so to correct that, I thought I could reach OB too, so figured I'd go a little bit more right and just try to stall the Toro out and hopefully land by the basket. But I end up putting just a little bit too much hyzer on it and kind of ends up to similar spot to hole 8 on the front nine. Here's Jordan. The fence with lines OB. He ended up like 80 feet past the fence. So he's just trying to pitch up for his bogey. Does so really well. Tricky spot. And I kind of have this similar putt to the front nine, as I said. And I'm not as scared this time around. I'm trying to run it to make a birdie.
I put it high, and I end up hitting the band. Just put a little bit too much height on it, but I'll take the par. Jordan's tapping in his bogey there, and we're going into the last hole. Probably one of the trickiest holes on the course. We got this 370-foot turnover shot. So I'm trying to take that champion turn again and just drift it to the right. Trusted on hyzer this time and hopefully get a look for birdie. And I ended up putting it throwing it a little bit too high and way too much hyzer. And so it stalls out in the air and finishes to the left. And I think Jordan's trying to do a different play here where he's trying to throw his buzz through the gap and kind of just get an easy upshot for par. And he kind of just early releases barely, but gets a great kick to the center of the fairway. And he's trying to throw his PD on a hyzer forehand to get to the pin about 250 feet away. And straight out of his hand, I thought it was early, but at the end it flexed a little bit. So kind of gave him a great look. Here I am, kind of got an upshot. You can see the basket on the left-hand side there. Just trying to pitch up Toro, take my par, finish out the round. And yeah, I think I do so. I thought I shorted it a lot more, but a lot closer than I expected. Here's Jordan, straddle putt to finish the round on a par. He's been making all these C1 putts, and he actually ends up pulling it just barely to the right, and he'll end up with a bogey. And here I am just tapping out my par.
So, round just finished, and I guess I'll go over my round real quick, and then I'll go over Jordan's. Ended up shooting 5 down. I believe that's 9. It was 954 rated. Pretty happy above my rating. I'm averaging 943, so that's always a plus. Regarding my game, I feel like my driving's doing really well. My technique's a little spotty, but my accuracy is actually surprisingly good. Kind of figured out some things, fine-tuned some of my technique, and now wherever I'm aiming, my disc is going there, so that's always a huge plus. And I feel like the angle I'm putting at is also pretty accurate most of the time. So not only hitting my lines, but my disc is also on the right angle. So that's always great. For some improvements, I feel like I need to improve a lot on my putting for sure. My C1 putting needs to improve a lot for sure. On the front 9 alone, I think I had 7 looks in C1 for birdie and 2 looks from C2, and I missed 3 putts. So although it's pretty critical, I feel like I could definitely improve my putting a lot. Besides that, there's obviously some other holes in my game, but right now I feel pretty happy. Kind of just want to work on my putt, and maybe been working on my sidearm a little bit, maybe help with some upshots or some really, really short holes. I'm pretty happy with that. Hopefully by the end of the year I could reach 960 rated. That's just a pretty big goal of mine, but I got 3 tournaments for the month of September, so pretty excited for that. Going on to Jordan's rated round, congratulations to him. He had his first ever 900 rated round. I believe his second highest rated round was 840 something, I believe 848 rated. And Jordan's been grinding the past couple months, 2-3 months, and has made some serious breakthroughs to where he's throwing a lot further and fairly accurately as well. It's definitely led to the improvement of his game. I mean, 3 months ago he was throwing 260 feet, but it was kind of like all over the place, and now he's improved to where he could throw 310 feet pretty casually on a golf line, and combine that with his stellar C1 putting, kind of is a good concoction for high rating. So if he keeps it up, I know he will. He's been grinding pretty often, playing every day and improving every day, so he's definitely on the road to being a really good player. So I'm not sure what he feels like he needs to improve on most, but I think he's been specifically working on driving distance and trying just to get ready for longer distance courses. Give him some more opportunities, because when he starts driving 400 feet and you combine that with really good putting, he's going to be a pro in no time. But congratulations again to him. 904 rated. It's a killer rating for his current rating, 100 points above what he's rated, so that's awesome. But yeah, that kind of ends the analysis of our video. Just want to give a quick thanks to all of you. Recently came out with a video talking about common backhand mistakes. And if you haven't seen that, I'll put the link in the description below. But that video kind of blew up for me, and a lot of you guys subscribed, and it really means a lot to me. So yeah, if you guys could like and subscribe, all the support really means a lot to me. I'd also like to thank the Silicon Valley Disc Golf Club for putting on this league day event. Everything went really smoothly. It's really awesome that we have the opportunity to even have a league day where you can get a rating, so that's awesome. And also, I'd like to thank Jordan for just agreeing to this video. I know rated rounds are pretty serious, so filming during them is not what everybody wants to do. So huge shout out to Jordan. Thank you for being a cool friend. But besides that, just wanted to say thanks again to everybody. If you can like and subscribe, that would mean the world. And if you guys want me to start doing videos like this on a daily basis, just comment down below. I could film each of my shots at my tournament and do tournament analysis just so you guys can see how I actually perform at a real tournament. But besides that, I'll see you guys in the next video.